This house is mine. You need to leave. What did you say? We lived separately because I listened to your selfishness. So don't think you can complain. Really? That's a relief. What? Bradley looked at me with a puzzled expression. But soon, he would understand what I meant. My name is Mindy. I'm 34 and work as an office employee. After graduating from university, I joined my current company and have achieved significant results at work. I was appointed as a manager and now work together with my colleagues, trying to achieve greater things. The responsibilities of a leader are heavy, and things don't always go smoothly. Still, I'm able to be successful because I'm blessed with wonderful colleagues. Our workplace is highly cooperative, and everyone supports and respects me. Of course, the company's goals and individual goals don't always align. What's important is that we respect each other's opinions while ensuring that the entire team moves in the same direction. Together, we work toward common goals with united efforts. That's how I'm able to fulfill my role as a manager. Listening to this story, my life might sound like it's all about work, but my personal life is also fulfilling. I'm currently dating a man named Bradley, and we understand each other very well. We met at a group blind date, and after a few dates, we started going out. He was sincere and had a warm heart, and he understood when my busy schedule didn't align with his. My appreciation for him grew stronger day by day. A year and a half into the relationship, I found my love for him was growing. As our relationship continued to flourish, one day, he surprised me with a proposal. Mindy, you're always working so hard, and I think it's wonderful. I want to support you forever. Will you marry me? He said this as he offered me a ring. The proposal was unexpected and surprised me, but it filled me with immense happiness. And so, I decided to marry him. Getting married at May 31st seemed a little late, but I was truly glad I found such a wonderful partner. When I shared this joyful news with my mother, she was overjoyed. My father passed away 2 years ago, so he couldn't see me get married, but I was glad I got to make my mother proud. We arranged for both families to meet and successfully held the wedding afterwards. My mother shed tears when she saw me in my wedding dress. Making her happy made me happy too. After the wedding, we began living together in Bradley's old apartment. The apartment was close to the city center, convenient for commuting, and spacious enough for the two of us to live comfortably. We considered finding a new place, but for economic reasons, we decided to continue living in the existing apartment. Starting our newlywed life like this, the happiest thing was being able to spend each day with my husband. Bradley wasn't particularly skilled in housework, but he always praised my cooking and cleaning and never forgot to express his gratitude. His appreciation and compliments were a great support for me, and I hardly felt the burden of household chores. This is how we made our newlywed life enjoyable and fulfilling. However, about 2 years after our marriage, my mother started to have health issues. She had suffered from major illnesses several times in the past, and her body was under a lot of strain. At 69, she was quite old, and even small things could lead to significant injuries, so she was living carefully. Unfortunately, she fell down the stairs at home and injured her leg. The injury lingered, and recently she mentioned that she had difficulty standing for even a short period of time. When I went to check on her out of concern, she seemed to be in considerable pain. My mother is now undergoing rehabilitation, but she's alone at home, so she faces lots of inconvenience in her daily life while she recovers. Therefore, I had an important request to discuss with my husband. Hey, Bradley, if it's okay, I'd like to ask you something. Can I stay at my mother's house to help with the household chores until her leg heals? My husband was initially surprised by this suggestion, but quickly agreed. Of course, that's fine. I'm sure your mother has had a tough time living alone all this while. I'll miss your cooking for a while, but thinking back to my days living alone, I think I can handle it. Don't worry about me. Please, help your mom. Bradley, thank you so much. I expressed my gratitude. I was delighted to have my husband's understanding and support, and when I told my mother about it, she initially seemed apologetic. But knowing that my husband had willingly let me go, she showed a relieved expression and said, "That's very kind. I'm sorry." I was so happy to be able to live with my mother again after a long time. During this time, I requested a work arrangement from my company and was allowed to work remotely. Because I'd always given my best at work, I had strong trust from my superiors, and setting up my remote environment went smoothly. My concentration and determination to achieve results in my work have always been highly appreciated. After getting everything prepared, I temporarily returned to my parents' house. While it was lonely living apart from my husband, since it was the path I chose, I decided to focus on taking care of my mother first. My mother also seemed excited to be living with me again, and her feelings were contagious. "I want to try baking a cake," she said. "But your leg isn't well, so don't overdo it. The doctor told you to avoid standing, remember?" I warned her. "Okay, I get it. But if possible, I'd love to make one while sitting down," my mother said. I replied, "Well, let's bake a cake together then." On the first day, my mother and I stood in the kitchen together and made a short cake with whipped cream and strawberries as topping. Afterward, we brewed a cup of aromatic coffee made at home and savored the cake while enjoying a nice conversation together. I hadn't been home for a long time, so I was more than happy to have such a relaxing time with my mother. "How are things going with you and Bradley?" my mother asked. "He is a very kind and wonderful man. We are happily married," I answered. "That's great. If you ever need to talk to him, don't hesitate to call him anytime," she said. "Thank you," I replied, and decided to call my husband from time to time. He seemed to be living fine on his own and told me there was no need for me to worry. Most of our calls would end up being simple, everyday conversations, and just hearing his voice soothed my heart. At first, we spent our time peacefully like that. But about 6 months after we started living separately, Bradley's calls became less frequent. When I called, he'd say, "Sorry, I'm really busy with work and exhausted right now," and we couldn't have much of a conversation. Worried, I sent him various messages. "Are you okay? Don't overdo it," I wrote. "Are you eating properly?" I asked, but all I got was a string of unread messages. I thought maybe he was too busy to reply and suggested, "If it's tough, should I come back for a while?" To that, he only replied, "I'm fine. Just focus on taking care of your mom for now." That response made it difficult to go back, but I was worried that he was pushing himself too hard. When you're busy, it's hard to prepare proper meals. So one day, I decided to return home during the day and cook a few days' worth of meals for him. That day, my mother had to go to the hospital, so I dropped her off before temporarily returning home. I only returned home every 2 or 3 months. But this time, about 4 months had passed since my last visit. Coming home was limited to holidays and only when my sister could take care of our mother. Since I planned to stay just briefly to cook, there wasn't a problem this time. It was when I set foot into our home after a long time. That's when I felt something was off. For some reason, the room was unusually tidy. The cleaning had been done perfectly, and the trash was taken out properly. When I opened the refrigerator, it was stocked with vegetables and meat ready to be used for cooking. I'd gone to the supermarket to buy food, but I realized it was almost unnecessary. Something was wrong. I felt uneasy and began to inspect the room. I found laundry hanging in the bathroom. When I saw that laundry, I was at a loss for words. There was women's underwear that didn't belong to me. Clearly, a woman I didn't know had been coming over, and my husband was likely having her cook and engage in intimate acts with him. I felt like I finally understood why his replies were so slow and cold. At that moment, I felt my love for him rapidly fading away. I immediately left the scene and exited the house. I thought it was best not to leave any trace that I'd been back behind. That day, I couldn't calm down at all, so I decided to stay at my parents' house. My mother noticed how drastically different I was between dropping her off and picking her up from the hospital and asked me worriedly, "Did something happen?" When she asked me that, I poured out all the anxiety I'd been feeling. She then advised, If you're feeling uneasy, it's better to find out sooner rather than later, and suggested I hire a private investigator. I thought it would be better to uncover the truth than to keep worrying about it, even if only to clear up my confusion. Following her advice, I immediately requested an investigation, and an astonishing amount of evidence of my husband's infidelity was found. I got very upset by this fact. My husband's affair partner seemed to be a junior colleague from his workplace. It appeared that the affair had started about 6 months ago. When the investigators secretly gathered information, rumors gradually leaked from his colleagues, revealing that the two had already been suspected. After we began living separately, my husband had freely invited his affair partner into our home. There was photographic evidence of her coming and going multiple times, and it was clear that she had been primarily taking care of him. When she came to the house, she acted as if it were her own, cooking and cleaning for my husband. Learning of this affair devastated me. Knowing that my husband and his lover had been living as they pleased in our home after we started living separately, and that she had been taking care of him like a wife, broke my heart. On top of that, my husband had sent me off to my parents' house. The thought that the affair had begun around that time left me in shock. I began preparing to get back at my husband. In the midst of that, he made an unexpected move. One day, my husband appeared at our house with his mother. "Just like you left me for your mother, I will live for my mother. I'm moving in with her," he said. His mother looked pleased and asked, "Bradley suddenly proposed we live together, but Mindy, are you okay with that?" I was surprised by my husband's decision. His mother continued, "And Bradley said he's divorcing you, but what's going on?" After this remark that his mother made, my husband made even more selfish demands. "This house is mine. You two need to leave." "What did you say?" "We lived separately because I listened to your selfishness. So don't think you can complain." "Wait a minute. Why are you deciding this on your own?" Without hiding his affair, my husband continued, "She's pregnant. We need a bigger house, and your parents' place came to mind. Starting today, the three of us are going to live here. Hurry up and pack your things," he said, and he and his mother began moving their stuff in. "Really? That's a relief." "What?" Bradley looked at me with a puzzled expression. But soon, he would understand what I meant. His mother said, "So it's finally divorce, huh? We'll claim property division for all the patience my son has had with you." But I ignored that, and we carefully prepared for our departure. I quickly called my sister and, after carefully packing our belongings, drove to her apartment with my mother. My sister was extremely angry about my husband's infidelity and attempt to seize our home. But she seemed puzzled when she saw how calm my mother and I were. My mother explained to her calmly, "That house is no good. The rainy season is coming, and I'm sure things will get nasty." This was actually part of the plan we had devised. We intentionally let go of that house to ensure my husband would suffer the consequences. The house we lived in appeared beautifully renovated on the surface, but in reality, it was over 50 years old and had many structural issues. We'd experienced problems with leaks the previous year, and it was expected to worsen this year. Despite this, we quietly handed over the house to my husband without giving him this information. He was thrilled to have the house in his name, but that joy was short-lived. We divorced formally and became complete strangers in practice. After the divorce, I quickly found a barrier-free apartment and moved in with my mother. The new place was newly built, extremely clean and comfortable, providing us with a wonderful start to our new life. Then, about 2 months later, I suddenly received a call from my ex-husband. "What the heck is this?" I responded calmly, "What's wrong?" "It's the house. The leaks are so bad that all the new, cutting-edge appliances and furniture are completely soaked. All the expensive appliances I just bought are now unusable. That's really unfortunate. But what do you want to do about it?" "Huh? You decided to live in that house, didn't you? You chose to kick us out and live there yourself. You're the current owner, aren't you? I think you should make all the decisions regarding that house. Isn't this fraud? You didn't tell me a word about the house being so defective." "What are you talking about? Think carefully before you speak." While I was away, You had an affair, and not only that, you kicked my mother, who requires care, and me out of the house. I'm recording this call, and I intend to hire a lawyer and file for property division against you, including evidence of your affair. Wait, let's just calm down. I'm very calm. I'm just stating the facts and taking appropriate action. I have nothing more to say, so I'm hanging up now. Wait a minute. After that, I hung up immediately and contacted my lawyer. Since I was already prepared to claim property division from my ex-husband, the process went smoothly. The lawyer acted promptly and sent certified documents to my ex-husband and his affair partner's workplace, demanding property division based on the affair. My ex-husband tried contacting me several times, but I avoided all his attempts. According to my lawyer, my ex-husband and his lover have been pleading financial hardship, strongly requesting a reduction in the division of assets submitted. However, I firmly rejected their demands. Later, the lover lost her job, and as her pregnancy progressed, it became physically impossible for her to find new work. As a result, the two of them were driven into severe economic hardship and ended up living a very poor life. However, all of this is a direct result of their own choices and has nothing to do with me personally. In case of any delay in payments, I've taken legal measures to garnish his wages directly. As for my ex-husband, he'll now need to struggle to repay his debts while simultaneously providing for his lover and their child. This will undoubtedly be a challenging task for him. But since it's a direct result of his own choices, there's little room for others to sympathize. Meanwhile, as I work in a position that allows for remote work, I'm living comfortably in our new home with my mother. My income remains stable just like before, and I have financial and emotional peace of mind. Moving forward, I plan to continue this peaceful life while steadily saving and building assets for the future. My name is Lucy. Currently, I live with my husband, Alex, in the same house with his parents. We bought this house 3 years after we got married, but soon after we moved in, Alex's parents suddenly showed up saying, "We can't thank you enough for buying a house for us." They brought a lot of luggage, and there was even a moving truck parked behind. As I stood there in shock, Alex nonchalantly walked past me and said, "Dad, Mom, I've been waiting. Come in." Alex's mother said to me, "Lucy, we're counting on you from now on," and proceeded into the house. However, seeing the amount of their luggage, I felt they intended to live here, so I quickly asked Alex, "What's going on?" In response to my question, Alex said, "What's so strange? We bought this house to live with my parents, so I brought them here." I was shocked. I had once mentioned the possibility of living with my parents to Alex, but I had never touched on the subject of living with his parents. Moreover, why did the situation of living with his parents suddenly arise? I was terribly confused. Living with my parents was also a plan for the future, not something immediate. And why did Alex invite his parents without discussing it with me? I asked Alex this when I saw his parents starting to bring their luggage into the room. He seemed to understand that he hadn't discussed living together with me, scratching his cheek and saying, "Well, if we're going to live together, I'd rather it be with my own parents. Otherwise, wouldn't your parents take over this place?" I was so surprised that I just replied, "Huh?" When I had talked about living with my parents, he had agreed, but perhaps he had agreed then just to avoid a confrontation with me. And by inviting his parents first, he prevented my parents from moving in. What are you really thinking? You agreed before when I said my parents would eventually live with us, but now you suddenly brought your own parents. Are they really going to live here? I've been thinking a lot too. But you didn't wait for my response and rushed for an answer, so I couldn't say no at that moment. I didn't rush you at all. I just asked for your opinion. I wanted to live with my parents. Then you should have made that clear when I brought up the topic of living together. Stop acting like a child. Living with Alex, I've realized that he has a very childlike personality. Whenever I do something, he comes over curious, asking, "What are you doing?" Maybe children are easier to deal with. If a child shows interest in household chores, you can suggest, want to try, and they might engage. But Alex asserts, housework is not a man's job. I thought that dealing with a childish adult might be more troublesome than an actual child. Apparently overhearing our argument, my mother-in-law started keeping my distance, advising, Lucy, you might feel dissatisfied over trivial matters between husband and wife, but some compromise is necessary. I sensed a demand in her words. My in-laws seem to view me merely as an appendage to their son. If they think I'm just an accessory making a fuss about not wanting to live together, her behavior makes sense. From my perspective, Alex is the accessory, but they don't seem to see it that way. My mother-in-law was eager to help with household chores, but their attitude was grating on my nerves. This situation continued, and as I pondered how to respond to their attitude, Alex's sister, Kate, visited. Kate is 5 years younger than me, already married 3 times and currently living with a new husband. When I returned home, Kate was already there. Welcome back, Lucy. I heard about it. You stood up to my brother and tried to kick our parents out of this house, she said. I was shocked and looked sharply at Alex sitting beside me. Why would Alex tell such a lie? Is it to make me look like the enemy? Alex wilted under my gaze, averting his eyes. If he feels awkward, he shouldn't have chosen words that blame me in the first place. Then Kate, who had been observing, stood up as if to protect Alex. Lucy, if you're going to make such a face, please leave. Just as I heard, you are a demon wife. It's bad for prenatal education to have you around. Being suddenly told to leave, I was confused about which part of the house she was referring to. For a moment, I thought she wanted me to leave Alex's room where he was enjoying conversation with his sister, but that didn't seem to be Kate's intention. She stroked her belly and said, I'm planning to give birth in my hometown. So, Lucy, I don't want you in the house. At least until my child comes into this world. Confused, I replied, what do you mean? Wow, Lucy, that face is scary. No wonder my brother avoids you. You might be close to getting divorced. Kate was teasing me with a smirk on her face. When I looked towards Alex, he was avoiding my gaze, looking down. Even if the other person is a dear sister, anyone would stop her from criticizing their wife. However, just as Kate pointed out, maybe Alex is getting tired of me. But being told such things, my interest in him also wanes. I can't forgive him for inviting his parents to live with us without my permission and for speaking ill of me to his parents and sister. His attitude seemed to belittle me. Why should I continue to treat such a person with affection? I felt my feelings for him growing cold. And since there was no room decided, I'll be using your room. Please organize your belongings. Now, big brother, say something too. It's been hard for you because of the demon wife, right? Alex hung his head at Kate's words but stood up, pulled up by her forceful hand. Prompted by her, he gave a strained smile and said, my important sister is going to give birth here, so we don't need you. You can sleep on the streets or something. Reflecting on the 3 years of marriage, I took a deep breath and replied, all right. Kate exclaimed with joy, raising both hands. Really? I'm so happy. Alex let out a sigh of relief, as I didn't respond with anger. However, in my heart, I decided to give appropriate punishment to Alex, Kate, and my in-laws. One evening, during a family dinner, I presented Alex with divorce papers. His face was a picture of surprise. Sign the divorce papers. You want me to leave this house, right? If you don't sign, I'll stay here. If that's the case, big brother, why don't you sign? But in the end, I think Lucy won't file them. I often use that trick too. Get them to sign, and if you don't want to divorce, just follow along. It seemed Kate had used these papers in the past to manipulate situations to her advantage. Such a person is bound to be divorced, I thought, but she seemed oblivious. Alex, accepting Kate's suggestion, signed the divorce papers without hesitation. It bothered me that he misunderstood my intention, thinking I presented the papers just as a threat. Normally, such documents aren't presented without the intention to divorce. However, getting his signature so easily made me feel a bit lighter. Now, I could take full revenge on them. The divorce was finalized, and I promptly organized my belongings. At that time, Kate was back home, confirming her plans for childbirth. Hence, she said she didn't intend to come to the house until my belongings were properly stored and the room was cleaned. As a result, I was diligently packing up after returning from work. In the meantime, I found and signed a lease for an apartment suitable for singles and began the process of selling the house. After moving my necessary belongings to the new apartment, I visited my in-laws' house. There, I found Alex, Kate, and my in-laws, all four of them together. Knowing that my father-in-law and Alex would be off work that day, and that my mother-in-law and Kate didn't work, I decided to visit when all of them were present. My sudden visit surprised all four of them. Moreover, when I arrived, three of them, except Kate, seemed to have been enjoying alcohol since the afternoon. In their presence, Alex was saying, "Lucky that woman left. She thought if she got angry, everything would go as she wanted. She acted so arrogantly, troubling me." My mother-in-law responded, "Indeed, Lucy had a somewhat difficult personality. The reason I was angry with Alex was that he started living with his parents and even made me leave the house for his sister, all without discussing it with me. I was angry because of his unreasonable actions. However, it seems within the in-laws family, I am somehow perceived as the bad one. Listening further, remember the girl I introduced earlier? It seems he started dating her, but she's a better match than the previous sister-in-law, right? I think a more adorable woman suits my brother better." They discussed his shocking affair. If their relationship started a week ago, that was when I was already proceeding with the divorce, so I guess it won't be an issue of infidelity. But still, his actions infuriated me. I briskly opened the room door and checked the faces of the chatting in-law family. The four of them seemed not to expect my return and were surprised. I came with the real estate agent. "Lucy, who is that man behind you?" Alex asked, pointing to the man behind me. Before I could say anything, Kate exclaimed, "Isn't that sister-in-law's new partner? Brother, this is infidelity. Let's make her support us financially." In the midst of everyone thinking Alex and I are still married, I've lost all patience with Kate, who, despite having introduced Alex to a new lover, is now making a fuss demanding money. Amidst this, the real estate agent handed a business card to my father-in-law and greeted him. Looking at the card, my father-in-law wondered, "Why is someone from real estate here?" The agent replied, "To appraise the value of this house." My in-laws exchanged glances and started laughing. "We plan to continue living here, so no appraisal is needed." However, the agent clearly stated, "Actually, this house is in Lucy's name. She wishes to sell it, so we are proceeding with the sale." Upon hearing this, my in-laws showed expressions of surprise, seemingly unaware of this fact. Perhaps Alex hadn't accurately conveyed this information. Alex said he would explain the details himself, so I left it alone. However, from my in-laws' attitude, it was clear that they had not received this information. They seemed to think I was just a burden and that Alex was supporting me by buying this house. So, I planned to explain the truth about the house's ownership and financial aspects to Alex and his parents if the situation didn't improve after a while. However, before I could explain, Alex's sister Kate appeared and kicked me out of the house as the owner. Therefore, I judged that dialogue with this in-law family became difficult and decided to take direct action. That action was to find a new home for myself, complete the move, and then promptly sell this house. Alex seemed to take Kate's words at face value and was complacent, thinking I wouldn't divorce. Seeing Alex's surprised face, I sighed inwardly. Since I, the owner, was kicked out of this house, it makes sense to sell it. It might be, but this residence is mine as well, and since we're married, it's also yours. Right now, my parents and sister are living here too. So what? Whether you or your family are here, it's irrelevant to me. Besides, we divorced quite some time ago. You signed the divorce papers, right? I submitted them to the city hall immediately. At my words, Alex seemed shocked and said, "What?" He seemed to think the divorce papers were just a threat. Disappointed, I sighed again. Then Kate started accusing, "Such an unforgivable woman. This she-devil, using my brother's money to get the house and then putting it in your name. I wonder who she thinks is the cause of this situation." I stared at Kate. "Your beloved brother actually doesn't have any money. He's working, but all his income goes to repaying borrowed money. Why does my brother have debts? Isn't that because he paid your living expenses?" Kate had been married 3 times, but 2 of them ended due to her infidelity. Each time she would say, "Please keep it a secret from my parents. I don't have the funds, so help me," and Alex would comply with her unreasonable requests. At first, I didn't notice, but then I discovered that the savings we were supposed to be building together had significantly decreased and confronted Alex about it. It turned out that Alex had been giving living expenses to his sister Kate without telling me. Despite this, I resolved the house payments using my own savings. I was beyond surprised and felt utter disdain for him for giving his sister such amount of money. Even if he said he would pay back the money in the future, I could no longer trust his word. I hired a lawyer. It was to recover our joint savings that he had squandered. Before I could share this fact, his parents, learning about their daughter's infidelity, exploded in anger. All her past divorces, she said they were due to personality clashes. To think Kate was unfaithful. Such a dirty child. We didn't raise our children to be adulterers. Wait, Mom, Dad, it's just Lucy talking nonsense. This isn't true. Perhaps feeling disadvantaged in this situation, even Alex, who doted on Kate so much, exclaimed, "It's all your fault. Because of all the money I gave to you to support your life, I ended up in debt, and because of you, Lucy and I had to divorce." Hearing this, I said, "Is it really all Kate's fault? It was your decision to suddenly bring your parents to my house, wasn't it? It was you who collaborated with your family to label me a wicked wife. And to think, just because your sister is your favorite, you plan to drive me out of the house, eventually leaving me to live on the streets? That's ridiculous." He tried to cling to my leg, but I kicked him away. "I'll be getting back all the money I paid on your behalf. Prepare yourself, I'm coming with my lawyer tomorrow." With that, I left the house. While we were talking, the house valuation was completed. Fortunately, it looks like the house will be sold as I hoped. The next day, when I showed up with my lawyer and explained the list of expenses he had wasted, his parents, looking at it seriously, said so much money existed, yet because of Kate's actions. They glared sternly at Kate, who was at the corner of the room. It seems his parents came to the house believing Alex's words about taking care of things from now on. But Alex's lies and Kate's adulterous actions had destabilized their retirement life, and they were furious. Alex incurred additional debt. After that, he was immediately kicked out of the house and ended up living in a simple apartment with his family. Kate, facing condemnation from her family, decided to live with her husband for a while and gave birth. However, since the child's hair color was clearly not her husband's, she was kicked out of that house as well. It was difficult for Kate to raise her child properly, and the child was placed in an institution. Kate, with nowhere to go, seemed to have no choice but to return to her condemning family. It seems she is still being asked for money by Alex, but I am free. I am enjoying my independent life and considering trying something new in the future.